Be the change you want to see. Make a difference by giving your money a purpose, a mission to do good. Welcome to Money with Mission, where we talk to individuals, businesses, and organizations who are taking the lead and whose actions are impacting the well-being of their communities and the world at large.
Welcome to moneywithmission.com. Today I have a friend of mine, Lisa Hylton from Up REI podcast. Lisa was born in the Cayman Islands. She is now in the United States and founder of LisaHylton.com and a real estate investment company that provides opportunities for entrepreneurs and business owners to invest in tax-efficient real estate investments. Lisa is also the host of the podcast Up REI, which airs every Tuesday and the first Thursday of each month for conversations with passive investors. She is a CPA with approximately 10 years of audit experience from PricewaterhouseCoopers, one of the big five.
Big four.
She worked and 4.5 years as a controller on private equity real estate funds at a Los Angeles investment firm, Ares Management. Lisa's current mission is to provide investment opportunities for entrepreneurs and business owners to level up their businesses and real estate investing to build long-term wealth and financial freedom. Welcome, Lisa. That's a big bio.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Lisa and I have been talking before I started the recording, unfortunately. And after we were talking, I was like, shoot, we should have been recording all that because it was some good stuff. Let's start with Cayman Islands. I love the Cayman Islands. I've been there twice, almost twice. Once we were on a cruise and the weather was bad, so the ship couldn't dock. The second time we went, I had a good time. It was fun. And I always thought about, this might not be a bad place to live, but I love the Caribbean anyway. So
yeah. So I was actually born in Florida. My parents are Jamaican, and I grew up in Cayman.
Okay.
So yeah, Cayman, very beautiful, small, a lot of financial services.
Yeah.
So accountants, lawyers are a dime a dozen. There's so many. So yeah, like people are generally either in the financial services industry, banking, or in tourism.
Okay.
Those are like the pillars of Grand Cayman in terms of what runs the country.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Gotcha. You left there at what age? Or how long? You don't have to say how old you were if you don't want to.
Yeah. No, I've been in the U.S. now for about 11 years.
Gotcha.
I came to the U.S. for college and then went home after college to work for 4 years.
Okay.
So when I came back, I was like in my mid-20s. Is when I came back to the U.S. and I was in Boston. So started my career at PwC, did 4 years in Cayman, 4 years in Boston, and 2 years in LA.
Okay.
And then after 2 years in LA, I decided to leave to go work for the investment manager. And I was there for 4.5 years before taking the big leap into entrepreneurship.
So we talk to a lot of people who take the big leap. They start out in a 9-to-5 or, nobody works 9 to 5 anymore, but 12, 15-hour day job. But running that hamster wheel, working for somebody else, building somebody else's wealth, usually. What was your breaking point? What was the thing that's like, I got to get out of here?
I have to credit coaching.
Okay.
I hired a coach in February of this year because in 2020, I had on my board that I was going to transition into my business full time and like what it is that I needed, the milestones that I needed to hit in order to make that happen. And then of course, 2020 was very, crazy year.
Disruptive.
Disruptive. And then in 2021 here, I had been looking at this coaching program for about 1.5 years. I'd met the ladies very early in my journey in real estate. And then, I finally decided to take the plunge. And the first call that we had, I shared, where I was. And she said to me, what would it be like if you just took 12 months to work solely on your business? And I said, it just took the breath away. And,
yes.
And I said, wow, I don't know if I can do that. There was just so much fear.
Uh-huh.
But I felt when I took a look at my finances, I said, you know what, I'm financially stable enough to run for 2 years
Hmm.
and to build a business. The biggest thing was the mindset,
Yeah.
getting my place mentally, getting to a place mentally where I could take the leap,
Yeah.
and creating those support systems around me in order to make that happen.
Nice. So I heard you say that she asked you what would it take to take 12 months, what would it take for you to leave your job? It sounded like
Yes.
you had started your business before.
Yes.
So what made you start I'm gonna call it a side hustle for now. What made you start your side hustle?
That's a great question. So I started businesses the first time I decided that I wanted to do a business. I didn't realize until most recently when I was reaching out to people on a deal that I was working on. And I saw when I was in college, I was reaching out to this girl and
Uh-huh.
she was doing some kind of business and I wanted to learn more about it.
Hmm.
But after that, the next time where I started to seriously think about businesses was when I started working for the investment manager. So
Okay.
I started working for them in 2016. And I remembered there was a girl that was there, who I knew from beforehand. And she said to me, she was like, Lisa, it's going to take you 6 months to figure out what you're doing, and then 6 months to determine whether you like it or not. And she was right. It did take those 6 months. And in that second 6 months is when I realized, hey, I'm not going to be here forever. So I'm going to need to think about what the next chapter is. And that's when, I also got exposure to real estate. Like
Uh-huh.
I grew up in a real estate family. My father was a contractor and he built 14 apartment units that my parents still have to this day.
Uh-huh.
But I never really saw real estate for the wealth building that it could accomplish until I started working for the investment manager. And I said, wow, like there are people making serious money investing in real estate. So I said, you know what? I started getting educated and I started learning. And at first, I was thinking about like buying properties in Los Angeles, but the
Hmm.
high price tag sort of, quickly made me think about out of state. So I started exploring turnkey properties. And then for turnkey properties, I was like, you know what, maybe I need to build business. How could I make more income?
Hmm.
And that's when I started looking at different businesses, tried initially a financial services business in addition to, well, first was an accounting business for real estate investors.
Okay.
And I quickly realized that one of the biggest things was taxes.
Hmm.
And my background wasn't tax. I spent many years in audit and
Okay.
not in tax. So, I quickly realized, okay, well, maybe this isn't the best alignment in terms of my skills. And I kept going, tried a financial services business, kept going. And that's when I eventually met Monique Hom in 2018. And then she introduced me to real estate syndications. And I said, whoa, hold on. People do this outside? Like,
That's-
I only thought the big guys do this, like where I
yes.
work. Like,
Yes.
that's it. And I quickly realized, wow, there was like a whole underbelly in terms of all the different ways in which people, could do this. And what was crazy is, I want to say maybe a year before I met Monique, I
Hmm.
remembered going to lunch with the auditors at the firm I was working for,
Okay.
and saying to people, man, I would love to invest in self storage. Like, and people were like looking at me like I was crazy. There was just like, why would you want to do that? And and then like a year or so later, I met her and I found out like, yeah,
You
it's
can do
possible.
that.
Like you
Yes.
can do that.
Yes.
So yeah, so that's what I would say. Like that's how like the birth of business had been there, but I feel
Yes.
like it was covered because of the way I was brought up and like my mindset for a
Yes.
long time.
Okay, so Lisa talked about Monique Hall. Monique was on the show. It was quite a while ago. I don't have the show number in front of me, but we will have it in the show notes if you guys want to go back and learn more about Monique.
Yeah.
But Monique is pretty special, and her program is pretty special, and she has helped a lot of women become real estate investors. All of them don't to make their own business or build a business like Lisa has,
Yeah.
but it's really good. So the thing I heard from what you were saying is you networked. You got out of yourself. You realized that you weren't going to, you didn't say you didn't like your job. You just said you realized you weren't going to be doing it forever. And you were doing already what you're doing now, but you were doing it for somebody else.
Correct.
And you've seen it on a big scale, and you didn't realize that you could do it on our scale, not that gigantic managing billions of dollars and da 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 da. Though we can get there. We can get there, Lisa.
That's right. That's right.
Well, we enjoy working with the smaller businesses and and people generally, just an individual, not an institution. A lot of those companies like Aries Management manage institutional money. Is that correct? Okay.
Correct.
So what is your favorite, real estate is a big subject. So do you have a favorite type of real estate that you like to invest in? You mentioned self-storage. Anything else?
Yeah. So I like recession resistant asset classes.
Okay.
My favorite out of all of them, which one I know the most, is multifamily.
Okay.
And then I'm continuing to develop and grow my knowledge in self-storage, mobile home parks, industrial, and ATMs.
Okay.
So yeah, my long-term vision is to be able to provide investment opportunities to investors in those asset classes, primarily because if they do well in recessions, they also do very well in when the market is doing awesome too.
Right.
So like, why not become an expert in asset classes that do well in every season? And
what I think we come to learn is real estate is around. People need someplace to live, someplace to work. Now, 2020 was definitely a disruptor in understanding where people are going to be working.
Right.
They still need someplace to live, and they still need someplace to work. And it all involves having a roof over your head in general. Yes. Construction workers are outside, but but it's all very interesting. And you mentioned ATMs, which I've heard of the ATM investment, but it took me a moment to realize that's real estate, man. That's on a piece of ground, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Like, I just love the creativity in real estate investing and just being able to diversify, your holdings and be able to provide that for people. I just think that that's just taking it to a whole new level.
I agree. Now, when you do your real estate investing, or when you help investors invest, do you manage the project or you manage the funds? In other words,
great question.
Do you have you know what I'm asking you? Do you know? Go right ahead.
Yeah. So the way I've structured my business primarily is to be a fund manager. Okay. So creating funds, specifically right now, all I do is single asset funds. Okay. I don't do blind funds, and I don't do multiple asset funds. I also don't do like evergreen funds right now. There's so many.
What is an evergreen? What's an evergreen fund?
An evergreen fund is a fund that's always open.
Okay.
And essentially you invest 50K in, and that 50K goes in and buys investments. There's no like period at which this fund is going to close. When some of those investments sell, they just reinvest the money. And then you are, having conversations with the the fund manager to determine like when they're gonna, distribute funds, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. So Lisa's talking, and I just want to make sure everybody's understanding the words fund, F-U-N-D manager. So she's raising money. She has networked with operators who are operating a multifamily, operating an apartment building, operating a mobile home park, operating a storage unit. She knows them, she understands them, she trusts them, she raises money from an investor, and then will invest in a specific project. You would know if you gave Lisa money or invested money with Lisa, you will know where that money's going.
Yes.
One of the things she talked about is a open fund or a blind fund, where you're putting your money in and there's an expected return, but you don't necessarily know what's going to be invested, what that money's going to be invested in, correct?
Correct. Okay. And that's typically how it's done at the institutional level.
Yes.
So at the institutional level, typically we'll create funds. They're very clear about the strategy. It's either a value add fund, or is it opportunistic, or it could be something else.
Okay.
But it's very clear about the strategy up front. Investors understand the track record. They know how other funds have been doing. They then get comfortable. They decide that they want to invest. There's pros and cons for all of the different funds. I can go into just a little bit here, which is like when you decide to do like a blind fund and you put in your 50K or your 100K or your $500,000, that has, by you then investing in the blind fund, you are giving the responsibility for selecting the different assets to the operator of that fund.
Yes.
Be it the portfolio manager, fund manager, etc. Whereas if you decide to invest in like a single asset fund, for instance, then that you know what investment it is that you're investing in, and that's pretty much it. Or it could not be a single asset, it could be multiple assets. Maybe it's 4 or 5 that they're closing. Like, for instance, I just recently saw a 25 asset multifamily fund.
Okay.
So it's 25 assets all at one time and just one hit right there. So that enables you to diversify your money across 25 different multifamily assets across 7 different states. Like, that's compared to just doing one asset,
Okay.
that helps with a lot of diversification.
Okay. So I was going to ask you that. What's the benefit of investing in something with multiple assets in there? And you just gave us that answer.
Yeah, the diversification.
What's the benefit of investing in a single asset fund then?
Yes, the benefit is that you give up diversification for control. So a lot of people feel that when they invest in funds that they don't have any control. Yes, you don't, but you do have some control depending on what kind of fund you decide to invest in. If you decide to invest in a single asset fund, you're retaining the ability to determine that you want your money in this particular asset. Whereas if you're investing in a blind fund, for instance, you give up the control of determining which asset is going to be acquired, because it could be, you just trust that the operator is going to choose the right types of assets to get the returns that they are projecting.
Okay. So I'm looking at it, if you think about 401ks and stocks and that kind of thing. So the blind fund is kind of, if you think about it in that way, a mutual fund that you really don't know what they're going to invest in. You can look and see what they've invested in the past. You don't know where it's really going to end up going.
Yes.
And how much of it's, there's some things you can control, but a lot of it is unknown. You just put your money in there and you trusted this person that you don't necessarily know to spread it out for you.
Yeah, that is a perfect example. Absolutely perfect example.
Okay. To me, the difference between those two things is a Lisa or a Felicia, because we talk to you, you know who we are. It's not the same thing as your 401k where you don't, I knew my 401k was with Fidelity. That's what I knew. I didn't know who the person was, nor could I pick up the phone and call them and know they were going to answer to get my questions answered. When you invest in a real estate syndication, whether it's ATM, multifamily, grocery stores, hydroponic, whatever it is, you're investing in a person. Right. You're investing in Lisa, you're investing in Felicia, you're investing in whoever that person is you're working with, and trusting they're going to manage your money and run it and get you the returns that they've indicated.
Correct.
So that's, to me, the difference between the blind fund and assets, all those, it's all very interesting to me and very, very, very exciting to me. I love this stuff so much. And I think you can hear Lisa's passion for it too. You're really into it. When you think about investing and you think about making money, how do you think about giving back and helping the world in the future? Or do you do it with your fund, or do you do it with the money you make from your fund? How do you manage that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel that, the assets that we invest in is one of the first ways in which we impact communities. Because when we're out there choosing to buy multifamily, self-storage, or mobile home parks, or anything like that nature, you are pumping money into the economy. You're executing the value add strategy, which then improves the living circumstances for people who are living in that area, provides better housing, provides storage, provides affordable housing in the case of mobile home parks, which is known to be the only asset class that's actually decreasing in quantity, which which makes it desirable in the sense that people need affordable housing. It it provides the ability to provide affordable housing, but more and more parks are being destroyed and replaced with, other things, everything from office spaces to multifamilies and like other stuff as well.
Yeah.
So in that case, as well as, getting out there and helping people, everything as I continue to build and grow my business, one of the things that I'm really passionate about is, eventually getting to a place where I can help people who work in these professional spaces, especially where I used to work, see a path for themselves outside of corporate America, because so many have been sad. Like, they feel that this is the only thing that they have to do. And they don't realize that maybe they have talents buried inside of them that could help and benefit other people if they would be willing to have the courage to tap into that. So being able to provide, like, leave the breadcrumbs along the way to helps these high income earners who want to add additional contribution to the world, or just participate or show up in the world in a different way, to do so. Being able to provide that pathway for them to do it.
And some of it is by example, as Lisa said, with her W-2 income, she made a decision to build her own business. That was not an easy decision to make by no stretch of the imagination. Same thing with me. We make these decisions and you decide, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know what went through your mind to get you to really step off that cliff, because it really feels like stepping off a cliff, doesn't it? It's like, okay, I hope there's a net down here, or I sprout some wings. Something good's going to happen here.
Yeah, it brings me to something that I was sharing with you on, before, which is like really surrounding yourself with good communities of people.
Yes.
I truly believe in continuing to invest in myself. So I do invest in myself a ton.
Yes.
And whenever I believe in the who, not how. So like whenever I have a situation where I feel blocked because like I'm not moving forward and I'm still stuck in a particular space, I know I need to start thinking about who.
Yes.
And less about like how can I do it, but more like who can I connect with that can help me to see my blind spots or to move through this area. And that helps me a lot. And just being surrounded, building communities, man, it's just beneficial.
Having your list of people to call. And there are times when I forget that I have a list, but I have a list. Who can I call for whatever problem I've got going on, or a pep talk, or a open your eyes, Felicia, or a smack in the face, whatever I need. I got people on my list who are there, and not judging. You need those people who are not going to judge you. They're going to hear what you're going to say and help you get past whatever that obstacle is. That's really, really good. That's really good. Money with Mission is a real estate and business investment company that specializes in finding projects that have the potential to give you a great return on your investment dollar and make an impact in the communities where we invest. Make a difference in your life and the lives of others. Go to moneywithmission.com to learn more. And you talked about books. We talked about books you recently read. Lisa read 2 books in a week, and I don't think they're not gigantic books, but they're not like fiction, John Grisham kind of stuff that you can read on a plane either. What recent books did you read?
Yeah, so my last couple of books here was Who Not How, the 12-week year. I think there's 2 more. One is Fanatic Prospecting. Because you continue as you grow your business. This is a part of getting out there and meeting people and being able to talk to people. And the last one that I just finished reading, well, I'm almost at the end, is The Magic of Surrender. Yeah, like in all of this, it's so important to remember the importance of surrendering to the process. Like, yes, you need to keep taking action towards your goals, but also being able to take a step back and sort of say, hey, where is life? Where are the winds of life pushing my goal.
Directing me. Yes, yes.
And to take a moment to say, hey, maybe there's, like, am I going in the path of the wind?
What was that called?
That one is called The Magic of Surrender.
The Magic of Surrender. I like that because I have gone to a few different conferences, and one of them was with Kim Kiyosaki. Kim and Robert Kiyosaki gave a talk about goal setting and processional events. That was from Buckminster Fuller. And processional events are the events that happen perpendicular to your path to your goal, which the processional event may actually be what the thing is you were here to do. And you're heading to your goal. So you got to head toward your goal, but the goal may not be the goal. The thing that happens perpendicular to that, or the ripples that happen because you're heading for your goal, may actually be what you're here to do and what your impact is in the world. I love it. That's so good. That was so impactful to me that it made me really work towards my goals. Because you put your goals out there and you're like, okay, I'm going to work for that, but what difference does it make? Maybe I'll get there, maybe I don't. But then realizing that going towards that and the things that happen because you're trying to get there might be the thing that you're supposed to be doing. I'd love it.
I love that. And this sort of brings me nicely to like what I was saying to you before we started with the 12-week year. I feel that's what makes the 12-week year book and implementing the weekly accountability meetings so powerful, because when you're committed to those 3 goals, and when you're in pursuit of those goals, along the way, you're going to go through things not going right. You're going to come up with new ideas and all this different stuff, just all because you're taking action towards those goals and being able to take a step back and sort of see, oh, wow, like, as you said, these perpendicular things that are now showing up because you're taking action. It just helps you to really come into you. And that's the thing. When you're showing up authentically, I think it's a beautiful thing, because you can then attract people who are actually interested in the real you and not the fabricated version.
Yes. You talked about a little bit ago about working with people to help them see that there's something else. There's so many people in our positions, corporate America, accountant, lawyer, doctor, who got into that and are now there. They're on that wheel because they make enough money, they make good money, and they're in this place where I'm not happy, but I don't really have anything else. I have to keep doing this because I need the income.
Right.
What to somebody starting out in college who wants to be an accountant, who wants to go in the path that you have gone, what would you say to them?
Wow, that's such a good question. I would say to them, I would say to them that the accounting profession is a strong profession. And it's one that I am truly grateful for. It has enabled me to build, it's been my biggest investor in myself and in my business. It has funded and will continue to fund the current time that I have now. And my experience working in that field is what gives me the discipline and the drive to wake up every single morning without a boss and to pursue my goals, even when, there are things that I need to be doing that I'm struggling with, and I know I'm struggling, so I need to go find the who's. But at least, the foundation of being able to take action now and not wait 6 months to then start taking action at the end. And that's what I would say for the accounting profession. And what I would also say for someone starting out is the beauty of this time period is that there is social media. There is everything. I consider podcast, YouTube, the traditional social media, Facebook, Instagram, the whole 9 yards, all of that as social media, in addition to books and Audible and all of this stuff. I think that, I think it's so important to take the time to get out there and explore the world. And sometimes when you're growing up as a child, you probably weren't in an environment that encouraged you to develop and cultivate all your different skill sets. So
Mm-hmm.
you didn't realize that you were someone who was good at public speaking and that was good at this or that and whatever. Like you ended up very quickly trying to conform to a world that teaches you that it's really important that you make money so that you can take care of yourself. And I believe that it's important and I respect that.
Right.
But I also think that it's important to encourage people to be aware of some of the ways in which they might be even better suited to show up in the world. That could be extremely financially rewarding, but
Mm-hmm.
also rewarding to them on a personal level that is far deeper.
Yes.
Because as I wrapped up my time at my last job, I remembered making the time to call my immediate colleagues to tell each of them that they were special, that they actually provided, like that they were really good at what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when we're in the race of competing and delivering on KPIs and goals and all this stuff, you lose track of the fact that, you know what, these people are performing at high levels and
Yeah.
they are really good.
Yeah.
And just being able to say, hey, listen, you're really good. And that if you see a goal out there that you want to go after, like find a way to make it happen and go do it. And like, just go make it happen
You can do it.
somehow. Like you
Yeah.
can do it.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say, like to someone who's just coming out of school is, I think you've picked a really good foundation, and accounting will not, at least it won't leave you on the road.
Yeah.
You're going to have a job and it's going to be solid and it's going to be secure and it's going to be comfort and all of that. But to be able to awaken out of that comfort, it's almost like a woman getting ready to give birth to a child. That child has been in her womb comfortable, you know,
Yeah.
as comfortable as they can be
Yes.
in that space.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then now they have to come out into the world. And if you decide to come out of that career and to try something else, just know that it's going to feel traumatic, but that's a part of the process.
100%. So good, Lisa. That is so
But
good.
yeah.
So good. I thank you so much. When I'm talking to somebody going into medicine or thinking about going into medicine, the one thing I wish somebody had said to me was, don't think it's the last thing you're ever going to do. Just go into it with that in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And don't be afraid, because nobody tells you you're going to medical school, you're going to be a doctor, and you think, well, this is it. This is the end for me. And this is where I'm going to end up. You go to school, you become an accountant. I'm going to do this the rest of my life. And then you find yourself and you're like, this isn't really for me anymore. I don't like it anymore. And it's scary. It is, whether it's you coming out of the womb, I'm sure that hurts. I don't remember it. I did give birth twice, and I know that was uncomfortable in a major way.
Oh my God.
New life is uncomfortable. It is. It just is. Giving birth to new life, yours, somebody else's, it is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So many of us stay in our comfort zones and don't expand. That sounds like Lisa and I both encourage you. Just reach out. Try it a little bit and have somebody with you. Build a team, have a community that can be there to support you. That when you're ready to cry because things aren't going well, there's somebody to cry with you or tell you to chin up, Buttercup, let's get going.
100%. And you know, what I would say to you to add on to that, right, is my podcast is called the Level Up REI. And when I came up with this name, like it was in 2019, when the name came to me for the podcast, and I was listening to Sierra's song Level Up.
Okay.
And as I am now, like months, like this is now a year, I've had the podcast for over a year now. And, you know, now made this decision to leave my job and like building my business and all this stuff. Like, I feel this is really like, I feel like I'm really leveling up. It's
Right.
like really crazy. And I want to share with people that when you are leveling up, you're going to feel the pulls of gravity
Mhm.
pulling you back down.
Yeah.
So you have to like just keep going. And so many times I have to say to myself, you just keep going, just keep going. Don't worry, let's go. Let's keep going.
Yep. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Lisa, this is so good. So good. Lisa wrote an ebook
Yes.
and she's wanting to share it with everyone. What's the name of
Yeah.
your book?
So my ebook is called The Beginner's Guide to Real Estate Syndications.
Okay.
So it just gives you a quick overview of what real estate syndications are, how the process works, and ends with a little case study.
Perfect. So probably in that you talk about what you talked about here, blind funds, single asset funds. Do you go into all that, or is that more advanced?
I don't,
Okay.
that's a little bit more advanced.
Okay.
But to the extent that people want to learn more about that, by all means, share, reach out to me. Happy to talk about funds. But funds is definitely a little bit more on the advanced side.
Got it. Got it. So you guys, you can go to moneywithmission.com, go under resources, and you will find how to get Lisa's ebook. Please do it. And check out Lisa's podcast, the Level Up REI podcast. She talks just like this in her podcast, and she talks to some amazing people. And I find you inspiring. I definitely got to add you to my list of people when I'm down to call. Get me back up, give me the smack on the face or the cry with me, whatever we need at that point. I really, really appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you,
We'll
Felicia.
talk to you again really soon.
Awesome.
Awesome.
You've been listening to Money with Mission. There are projects happening right now where you can make a great return while positively impacting the lives of others. To learn more about today's guest or to download 7 steps to building resilient wealth for women, visit www.moneywithmission.com.
I hope you enjoyed the interview and are inspired to give your money a mission. Until next time, send your investment dollars into the world to bring you a financial return and improve the lives of others.